Howdy, folks. Grab your favorite easy chair, pour yourself a stiff one like they did back in the day, and let's spin a yarn that'll hit you right in the feels. If you're over 65, like me and my crew, you remember when rock and roll wasn't just noise, it was soul, straight from the gut, the kind that made you weep and whoop all at once. We're talking no frills, no auto-tune baloney, just rawhide and heartache. And tonight, we're diving deep into the life of Richard Manuel, the piano-pounding wizard of the band, a fella whose voice could swing from gospel thunder to angel whispers, faster than you can say pass the cornbread.
See my lady, is living alone.
Stick around, because this tale's got more twists than a back road in the Ozarks. And trust me, it'll remind you why the old tunes still pack a wallop. Way before some pop kid from Stratford, Ontario was even a gleam in his mama's eye, that same sleepy town birthed a musical prodigy with pipes that could melt steel. Richard Manuel, born April 3, 1943, had it all from the jump. Talent thicker than molasses, charm smoother than a well-worn Stetson, and a knack for music that showed up before he could tie his shoes. But, like too many shooting stars, glory came with shadows that fame's spotlight couldn't chase away. Little Richard found his groove harmonizing with his three brothers in the family church, voices blending like sweet tea and bourbon. Come nighttime, though, that heavenly glow dimmed quick, giving way to a private storm brewing inside. While us kids were hollering over Elvis's hips and Jerry Lee pounding the ivories like Judgment Day, young Richard was holed up in his bedroom, twisting the dial on a crackling radio from Nashville to soak up the gritty blues of Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf. By 15, he was strumming with a local outfit called The Rebels. Then, summer of 60 rolls around and one gig in Port Dover flips the script. Pouring his guts into Ray Charles's Georgia on My Mind, Richard owns the room. The crowd stomping and hollering, and hotshot promoter Ronnie Hawkins, he's hooked like a catfish on a trot line. Hawkins scoops him up as his road warriors, heading south to Arkansas honky-tonks. Now, you can't call Richard lazy, but ambition, that wasn't his strong suit. When Hawkins dangled a spot in his crew, the Hawks, Richard balks, because he'd pinky swore with bandmate Jimmy Winkler they'd stick together come hell or high water.
See my lady, is living alone.
Lucky for him, Jimmy gives the nod. Kid, this is your ticket. Don't blow it. Richard grabs his grip, hops a puddle jumper to Tulsa, and just like that, he's in the big leagues. He wasn't a total stranger neither. Robbie Robertson had crossed paths with him at a burger joint in Grand Bend, Ontario. Richard strolls up, all grins, but before he can spit a hello, one of Robbie's buddies ribs him about his schnoz. Richard, he just chuckles and fires back. Yeah, that's why they call me Beak. Robbie clocks him as funny, warm as apple pie, but off kilter. Seeing Richard weave a bit, Robbie figures the boy's nursing a head full of hooch. Not rowdy, just loose-lipped and lit. Didn't take long for the truth to spill. Hawkins ran a tight ship, only the best need apply. Robertson on axe, Levon Helm behind the kit, Rick Danko on bass, Garth Hudson and Richard Dublin on keys. Hawkins cracked the whip like a carnival barker, but later he'd say of Richard, reckon he had a hankering for the bottle back then, but he never flubbed a show, and that's what counted. Richard didn't ease in gentle. Hawkins hurled him on stage first night at the Seahorse Tavern in Toronto, yanks the curtain, points at the crowd, and barks, "Hit it, son." Richard, he knew rhythm, not lead vocals. But when that voice cracked loose, Rick Danko knew they'd struck gold. Nature's fury in a boy, Rick Danko called him. The Hawks, they were off to the races, Richard leading the charge. One wild eve at a Toronto motel, groupie Kathy Smith hooks up with bassist Danko. Tilly learns she's dodging the pill and bolts like a scalded cat. In strolls Levon Helm, picking up where Rick left off. 6 weeks on, Kathy drops the bomb. She's expecting. Helm's the daddy, she swears, but it was Richard who'd been sweet on her too, offering a hand when the chips were down. She turns him down gentle, writing later he was just like his singing, sad, sweet, and soul deep, a lost little boy. If the Hawks figured road life meant booze cruises and all-nighters, Hawkins set him straight quick. He ruled like a boot camp sergeant. No dope, no dames at gigs, drill on discipline and daily licks. Robertson likened it to Army Basic. And the boys? They were itching to cut their own tracks. By '63, the Hawks flew the coop, leaving Hawkins in the dust. No boss meant no rules, and for Richard, that spelled trouble. He was a sweetheart, a hoot, a damn virtuoso, but underneath lurked a darkness. At 17, he owned up, boozing since he was knee-high to a grasshopper. Robertson say later, "We saw the bottle and the beast taking hold early on, but oh boy, it was just getting started." Richard chased skirts like autumn leaves, but one gal lit his fire, 19-year-old model Jane Christiansen, who turned heads in a Toronto rag, fully clothed, mind you, which made her stand out like a sober man at last call. His love life heated up right as the music did. Word spread about these rogue Hawks, and who calls? Bob Dylan himself, itching to plug in and leave folk in the rear view. He needed muscle that could handle the switch. Yeah, they'd back the Bard, but it'd be Dylan's band. Hitting the stage electric, folk purists lost their minds, booing, heckling, chucking trash like it was the Boston Tea Party. Pressure cracked Levon Helm, who bailed mid-tour. The rest? They hunkered down, bonding tighter through the blizzard. Trauma glue? You bet. Then fate throws a curveball nobody saw coming. Dylan's motorcycle wipeout in '66? A twisted blessin'. While he mends in Woodstock, New York, the boys pile in too, into a pink as a baby's bottom house in Big Pink. No suits, no schedules, just genius geeks in the woods, fueled by ribs, rot gut, and Dylan's dough. Mix soul, country, gospel, R&B, rockabilly, boom, music from Big Pink drops, birthing The Weight, their monster smash. They weren't a band no more, they were the band.
One afternoon, Dylan ambles downstairs, hands Richard a lyric sheet. Got a tune for this? No sweat. Out comes Tears of Rage, the gut punch opener. Richard's ache-soaked croon on Life is Short, eerily spot on, like he was singing his own epitaph. Big Pink didn't explode overnight. Hell, bands back then sported names like Strawberry Alarm Clock. These farmhand-looking fellas sounded like a gospel crew crashing the truck stop. Raw, weird, wonderful. World caught on slow, cash flowed in, and Richard, he dreamed big. '68, the band dodges the road rat race to guard their muse. Richard, he's scheming personal. License yanked for speedin', he ropes ex-flame Jane into driving him to a family shindig and pops the question en route. She says yes, they tie the knot next weekend. He called it a slick maneuver, grinning like the cat that ate the canary. No love triangle here, but get this. Richard, Jane, and Garth Hudson shacked up in a Woodstock pad overlooking the Ashokan Reservoir. Panoramic views, living room doubled as band den with a houseboat studio. Honeymoon haze shattered one night when Richard's wild side flares. After a day outdoors stirring appetites, he douses the backyard grill with gas. Whoosh, flames erupt, scorching his foot bad. Ouch. As the band's rocket ignites, Richard's sidelined 2 months, nursing burns and blues. That same year, George Harrison drops by Woodstock, jaw on the floor. Comparing it to Beatles' Ego Circus, the band's a utopia. No pecking order, no beef, just killer chops and mutual props. Deep artistic respect, Harrison gushed. Every man sang, that was high praise from a Beatle. Those jams seeped into Harrison's All Things Must Pass. Check the cover, it's band bread. But while their one-for-all vibe wowed George, cracks spiderwebbed in. Second album rolls out, Richards etched his stamp as co-creator. Levon figured credits and royalties would split fair. Nope. Richard gets nods on 3 cuts, Levon half on 1, Rick and Garth zilch. Robbie Robertson? Soul scribe on the rest. Levon named it Divide and Conquer. Ego? Suits? Whatever, damage done. The harmony that floored Harrison? Frayin' fast. Richard the Tendercore took it hardest. Per Levon, No more pourin' heart out sans props. He quits right and cold, filling voids with riskier kicks. Bands splintered inside, but outside, unstoppable. Dough rollin', scribe swooning, stars like Joan Baez and Cass Elliot covering his gems. Spite the strain, they grind on, drowning gripes in cheers, coke, and blind denial. 70s hit, they're flying high. Charters, kilos, kingly gigs. Excess patched nothing. It pried wounds wider. Robbie dub it the dark years. Addiction, burnout, power plays. For Fragile Richard, free fall. By 73, he's creating and coping in the dregs. Tells pals, I'm too shot to contribute, just dragging him down. Jane split temporary. A buddy crashes to fend off pushers knocking like bill collectors. Richard bounces, twixt dumps, ain't helping his head. Band's unspoken pact, but out of private hells. But Richard's nosedive? Too steep to ignore. Even Dylan frets, showing up unannounced at Richard's door. Opens up to squalor. House trashed, dog doing business indoors, Flora minefield a mess. Dylan freezes. This ain't just rehab, it's rescue. 74, Richard's the shell. Collapses in Cleveland. Days later, bear it all with Robbie. Sorry for the dry spell. Remember? We vowed equal writing. That's why you pushed fair shares. Per Levon, the block hit when Robbie hogged second album credits. Robbie's ragged, fearing early graves for all. Caps it with The Last Waltz. Scorsese helmed farewell bash with A-listers. Cameras dodge Richard mostly. He's ghost-like, flubs of finale harmony. Meant to crown their lore, but for him, feels like eviction.
Post-waltz, they scatter. Jane's gone for good, Richard's self-worth craters. Hides in label-owned Malibu bungalow, refusing to budge. They cut the gas, he grills steaks on an upside-down iron. Eviction uncovers horror, 2,000 empties. Rock bottom? Nah, deeper digs. Surprise? 80s dawn, Richard sparks. Band reforms, sans Robbie. He swears off sauce, weds Toronto gal Arlie Litvak, eyes fresh starts. Tragic footnote, comeback tour? They dub it the Death Tour. No jets, no arenas, just grindin' miles twixt podunk dives and faint claps. Hits Richard hard. We are those songs now, he gripes to leave on. Not complimentary. I was the party, he'd sigh, but by mid-80s, lights out. Soused again, he hates hacking oldies on junk gear and lounges, praying his ravaged voice holds. From Wembley roar to Orlando cheek to jowl, brutal drop. And here's a gut punch they don't always tell. Early 76, fresh off a bender, Richard's behind the wheel in the rain, misjudges a slick bend, car flips like a drunk cowboy, walks away, scarred but shaken, a wake-up that don't stick. Life's dice rollin' loaded. March 3rd, 1986, post-gig, he hugs Garth. Thanks for 25 years, brother. Garth shrugs it off, packin'. Later, at the Quality Inn with Levon, Richard vents, feels like I'm sliding into nothing. No alarms ring, wee hours, watching flicks, mood lifts. Be right back, he says, casual, heading to his room. Last Levon sees him breathing. No key rouses Arlie, who notes he's grumpy but crashes beside her. Dawn breaks. She's solo. Figures he's bus riding, starts her day. Back in the John, world shatters. Richard's gone, hanged in the night. Screams summon the boys. Levon bolts in, freezes, helps lower him with Rick. CPR? Futile. 42 years young. Levon wrote later, Richard danced with the Grim Reaper plenty. God tossed him back each time. Not this go. Funerals star-studded. Robbie ghosts it, but Rick Danko belts I Shall Be Released as tribute. Crowd joins sobbin' harmonies. Room packed with picker legends, kin, comrades, but empty where it aches most. Today, Richard's blood beats on Quiet Lake. Daughter Paula, born to Jane in the big pink afterglow, keeps low-key in Canada, guarding his minal vault and sharing stories that keep his fire flickering. Arlie moved on privately, but whispers say she honors him with old band tapes spinning soft. Family scattered but rooted in his echo, proof the good ones linger. Whew, ain't that a ride? Hooks you twice over, don't it? Once in the glory, again in the goodbye. If this stirred your soul like a Sunday hymn, hit that like button, subscribe for more timeless voices from the golden era, and drop a comment. What's your favorite band deep cut? Oh, and don't sleep on our last vid. Paul Anka's the king of croon, must watch for any old soul worth his salt. Till next time, keep the jukebox juiced and the memories rolling.